counsel, are we ready for the jury to be brought back? I can have just 1 second to run over for you. Thank you. All right, let's get the jury back here. You may be seated. Record reflect the jurors are back in the jury box. Can you call your first witness?
Yes, Your Honor. At this time, the people will call Ariel Courtland to the stand.
Come on up, please. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please be seated. Your voice is a little faint. I do need to have you speak up so that everyone can hear you in the hearing box and at the council table,
Okay.
and because I'm hard of hearing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Would you please introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury and spell your last name?
Ariel Courtland, Courtland.
And Ms. Courtland, once again, you have to keep your voice up
Okay.
or loud,
Try
okay?
harder to speak to the back wall, please.
Okay.
Ms. Courtland, how old are you today?
24.
All right. And do you know the defendant in this matter, Sean Phillips?
I do.
And can you tell the members of the jury how it is that you know Sean Phillips?
We started dating when we were kids.
All right. When you see your kids, how old were you when you met the defendant?
14.
All right. Ms. Courtland, before I go any further, I want to ask you a question. Have you received any text messages about your testimony here today?
I'm sorry, what?
Have you received any text messages about your testimony here today?
Not today, I haven't, no.
Okay. No, about your testimony today.
Maybe, I'd have to look.
Did you receive a text message from Kim Phillips?
Yeah, I did.
All right. And did that tell you to do something in regards to your testimony today?
I'd have to reread it. I didn't...
What did you tell Sergeant Kenny, or Detective Kenny this morning? What did the text message ask you to do?
Can I read it?
Certainly. Do you have it with you?
No, it's in the other room.
Let me ask you this question. Did it tell you to portray the defendant as a loving and caring father?
I'll sustain that objection. At this point, you can ask the witness, but there's no reason. You can get that and perhaps review it, but it is not for you, counsel, to provide testimony.
May we have a minute break while she gets her cell phone, Your Honor?
You may.
All right. Step down and get your cell phone, please. you have your cell phone with you?
I read it.
Okay,
I went over it.
all right. And was there a text message
Yeah,
from who?
from Kim.
All right. And in regards to what?
She mentioned to me, she sent me a text message last night and just told me that to put my nervousness and my anger aside and to when I went up there, and she said that to make sure to explain, or I don't know what the exact word, not explain, but pretty much along the lines of explaining to them like that Sean loved his girls, and to make sure that they knew that. And that's
Isn't
what
it
she was
fact
saying.
true she told you portray him as a loving
Again,
father?
objection, Your Honor, it's leading.
It's impeachment.
You know, there is apparently something to be looked at, counsel, and under the circumstances, I'm going to sustain that objection. And before I go any further, hang on 1 second. All right, I sustain that, you may proceed.
Ms. Courtland, I'm going to jump way ahead of things right now. Can you describe for the members of the jury what your relationship with Kim Phillips and Larry Phillips is today? This time frame, right now.
Like how it is.
Yes.
We have a good relationship.
And what do you mean by you have a good relationship?
We're pretty close.
All right. And when you say we're pretty close, can you tell the members of the jury what you mean by we're pretty close?
They're like my second parents, I guess. I don't know. That's what I kind of think as. We've set our differences aside and just came together like as a family.
Okay. So I'm going to get to the point, go back to the point about you set your differences aside, but right now, can you tell the members of the jury what types of things that you do with Larry and Kim that make you think that they're like your second parents? How often do you talk to them?
Sometimes every day, sometimes every few days, just depending on what's going on. They're pretty active in both my daughter's life, so they get updates and they want to take them to do stuff, and so they go through me obviously to see them.
All right.
They have a good relationship with my youngest daughter, who isn't theirs, but they don't treat her any differently than their own granddaughter.
Okay.
They love Echo.
Do you do things with them?
Yes, we go camping and we go to dinners, stuff like that. We're close. I mean, they went to my college graduation, and
Do they take your daughters anywhere?
they do.
Okay. Like where?
Usually they don't take Echo because I don't let Echo really go anywhere, but I bring like Echo out there and stuff like that to see them, and we have dinner, and if we just want to hang out so they can see Echo, and then they take Haley to, well, like last weekend they just took her to the pumpkin patch.
All right. They take her to Disneyland?
No.
Okay. All right, and I know the jury's probably a little confused now. You've mentioned Echo. Can you tell the members of the jury who Echo is?
Echo is mine and my fiance's daughter. She'll be 2 in January, or at the end of January,
Okay.
and she's Haley's little sister now.
All right. Now, I want to go back because you've described that you have a rather close relationship with Larry and Kim. Can you tell the members of the jury, when you first met the defendant back when you were 14, what was your relationship with Kim and Larry like?
It wasn't very good at the very beginning of the relationship.
You have to keep your voice up, okay?
It wasn't very good at the very beginning of our relationship.
Okay, and up till the time that baby Catherine, I know I'm jumping ahead, but I'm just trying to clarify some things for the jury. Up till the time that baby Catherine disappeared, did you have a good relationship with them?
No.
All right. All right, now I'm going to go back to a normal sequence events. You indicated you met the defendant when you were 14 years old. Will you describe your relationship with the defendant for the jury?
Then,
Yes, when you
Um,
first met him.
we were really close. We spent a lot of time together, and we had a lot of the same interests and started to become really close, almost inseparable for a long time.
Was he your boyfriend?
Yeah,
Was he your first boyfriend?
he was.
All right. Who is Haley Phillips?
Haley is mine and Sean's first daughter together. She's 9.
And when was Haley born?
September 6, 2007,
Where was she born at?
Ludington Hospital.
All right. How old were you when Haley was born?
I was 15.
How old was the defendant?
Sean would have been 16, almost 17, I think. Or no. He was 17, almost 18.
All right. The person you know as Sean Phillips, is that individual in the courtroom today?
He is.
Would you please point to him, describe what he's wearing?
He's over there wearing a blue shirt with a blue tie.
Your Honor, may the record reflect identification of the defendant?
Any objection?
No objection.
The record shall so reflect.
Can you tell the members of the jury, during the course of this boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, at some point did you get pregnant?
I did.
All right. And did the defendant accept paternity of Haley?
Yes, that never was an issue.
All right. Was he there for the birth?
He was.
All right. Is his name on Haley's birth certificate?
It is.
Where were you living when Haley was born?
I had been placed in foster care about 9 months before Haley was born.
And this placement in foster care, were you still in foster care after Haley was born?
I was.
And who had custody of Haley at first after she was born?
I did. I didn't have full custody, but Sean and I worked out an arrangement in the sense that she would remain with me, but he would take her for a few hours or however long. So we just had that set up at first.
Okay. So Haley was in foster care with you?
Haley wasn't considered foster care, no. Haley was in my guardianship. I was in foster care, not Haley.
Okay. And was that court ordered?
Court ordered for what?
Your foster care placement?
Mine was, yes.
All right. Did you remain in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship with the defendant after Haley was born?
We did.
And from the time that Haley was born until June of 2011, were you continuously in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship?
We were kind of on and off.
When you say on and off, what do you mean by that?
I thought we're trying to work things out, and I don't think Sean quite knew what he wanted to do at that point. He had a lot of mixed feelings about a lot of different things, so that's, I mean, we were trying to work things out, I guess.
All right. After, well, you said initially that Haley was in foster care with you. Did that custody arrangement ever change?
Yes.
All right. Can you tell the members of the jury what kind of change happened to that custody relationship?
About, it was almost a year later, or maybe it was just over a year later, Sean had just gotten back from the military. He left for like 3 months. It was a long time. And he came back, and I'm still not 100% sure what was going on, but he wanted to get some rights for Haley. So we ended up going to court and kind of battling it out in court between custody. We both had separate attorneys, and they were trying to get it so Sean would have custody, which I obviously was objecting to. So we battled in court for a couple months.
Okay. At some point, was the defendant the custodial parent?
He was.
All right. Do you remember how long that relationship went on for?
Maybe about a year.
And then did that custody arrangement change yet again?
It did.
All right. And can you tell the members of the jury how it changed after whatever period of time it was?
Now that I think about it, it's maybe closer to a year and a half. And after right before I found out that I was getting my own place, I kind of got news that I was going to be getting my own place. So that's when I decided that it was time to go back to court. Sean and I just weren't getting along as far as custody arrangements for Haley. So I had a stable job, and I was getting my own place, and I thought that it was time to go back to court, and that the judge would see that I was a responsible parent and that I was standing on my own 2 feet, and I thought that there would be no reason why we couldn't at least get joint custody back, because I thought that was fair.
And what type of place were you going to get?
I had my own apartment over on the other side of town.
All right. And so did you go back to court on that matter?
We did, and the judge agreed with me and said that there's no reason why we couldn't and have joint custody, and he ruled in my favor and gave me joint physical and legal custody of Haley.
All right. And after you got joint physical and legal custody of Haley, was there a formal court-ordered custody arrangement in place?
There was.
All right. And that was an order of the court that determined that?
Yes.
All right. Can you tell the members of the jury, did you and Sean follow this formal custody arrangement that the court had put in place?
We did not.
Okay, why not?
Well, they had said to us that it was just a guideline, and that if we didn't want to, that a lot of parents made up their own stipulations and stuff, but as long as we followed the general guideline, they didn't care what days we worked out. So Sean and I decided that neither one of us wanted to go an entire week without Haley, because their arrangement was a week with me and then a week with Sean. It was like weekly, and then we were alternating weekends with her. So it was like Monday through Friday, but we just didn't want to go that long without Haley. So we decided to do 3 days on and 3 days off.
And could you tell the members of the jury, how did that 3 days on and 3 days off, how did that work out?
It worked out okay when we were okay, but then when things were not okay, it didn't work out at all, and ultimately Haley was used back and forth.
When you say used, what do you mean?
Like if we were arguing, good luck getting Haley type thing, or I didn't drive at the time, so he did the transportation. I'd give him gas money. He would bring Haley in town, and then he wouldn't give Haley a ride or something like that. I'd have to go get her, which he knew was hard for me at the time. I was working and just got my own place and trying to save up for a vehicle, but I only could do so much at one time.
Okay. And were the police ever called to resolve custody issues?
They were.
Okay. By who?
Both of us. We both at different times.
Can you tell the members of the jury how many times roughly?
I really don't have any idea.
No.
A lot. I mean, it was a lot.
All right. So as best you know, it was a lot.
Yeah,
And were these calls two-way made by both you and the defendant?
they were.
All right. Was it unusual for you to call 911 in regards to a custody issue?
Not 911, but like the the non-emergency number, so yes.
And did anybody from either the Mason County Sheriff's Department or the Ludington Police Department kind of caution you about, bringing them as opposed to going to court over family issues?
I don't remember a whole lot about what they said. That was a long time ago, but I know that they said that we would, at some point they had said that we would probably have to go back to court, but my biggest thing was that I wanted documentation that all the stuff was going on. I didn't want to just go to court and not have any proof or documents to back it up that I was being denied visitations, so.
All right. Let me ask you this, despite the fact that there was these custody disputes going on, were there times when you and the defendant were together?
Yes,
Okay, and when I say together, I mean in a boyfriend-girlfriend sense.
yes,
All right. And I don't mean to pry into your personal life, but there are some important issues, so I'm going to ask you this question. Were you physically intimate with him during that time frame?
we were.
All right. At some point, did you become pregnant with the second child?
I did.
All right. Can you tell the members of the jury, as best you know, when did you become pregnant with the second child?
I believe it was around May of 2010.
What was your relationship with the defendant when you became pregnant? Was it on and off, or how would you describe it?
It was, I think we were going, it was on and off when I got pregnant, yes.
And did you discuss your pregnancy with the defendant?
I did.
All right. What was the defendant's reaction to that?
At first, he wanted me to make sure that I was pregnant, not just peeing on a stick, because sometimes those aren't always accurate. So he asked me, something was mentioned, I'm not sure if it was him or me, but that we needed to go and see for sure if I was pregnant. And I went and made an appointment with Dr. Murphy, and he confirmed my pregnancy.
All right. After he confirmed your pregnancy, can you tell the members of the jury, did you relate that information to the defendant?
I did.
All right. And can you tell the members of the jury how the defendant reacted to that?
Initially, I'm not trying to remember our phone. I know I told him over the phone, but I'm not 100% the way he reacted. I mean, I knew that he wasn't happy, but I think at first he was shocked. Like, he wasn't sure how to react or what to say.
All right. After initially, did you ever argue about it?
We did.
All right. What did the defendant say?
He said that he didn't think that we could handle another child right now, and that we should talk about our options.
Did he tell you you were trying to ruin his life?
At some point, I'm just not sure exactly when it was said. It was some point during the pregnancy.
What did you argue about?
A variety of different things. He was looking at different angles. It wasn't just one thing. He was set to deploy in a month, well no, it would have been, he was set to deploy in August of 2011, which I would have already had Kate, and he was afraid that he wouldn't make it back alive because he was infantry, and he was going to a very dangerous place. And he was afraid that if he were to pass away, that it would only be me to take care of our kids.
What else did you argue about?
We argued about him not wanting to tell his parents because he didn't think that they would agree, and he said they'd be really mad.
What else did you argue about?
We argued about, he didn't think that we were ready to have another child because we both still had college to go to. I still had to finish high school, and he didn't think that we'd financially be able to support another child and was worried about that.
Did you ever discuss abortion?
We did.
Tell the members of the jury about that.
We talked about abortion towards the beginning of the pregnancy because of all these factors that were going on, and my faith was heavier than that, and I didn't want abortion. I've always been pro-life, and I think Sean was more pro-choice. That's how it's always been. So we kind of had the conflicting ideas about it, I guess.
Did you argue about it?
We did.
How many times?
I'm not sure how many times, a lot.
And what would the defendant say when you were arguing about abortion?
He would say, at some point, that's when he had mentioned that I was that I was gonna ruin his life, and that I can't be 100% sure now what all we argued about.
Did you ever take any money from the defendant in regards to the subject or issue of abortion?
I did.
Okay, can you tell the members of the jury about that?
We had talked about getting an abortion, and I was seriously considering going through with it. Maybe it would be better. And I accepted some money from him to go towards the abortion.
How
And
much
then-
money?
I don't remember. I think you guys, if you could refresh my memory, I'm not sure.
Did you previously say it was like $60?
Something, yeah, that would be around.
Tell the members of the jury what you did with that money.
I decided that I couldn't go through with the abortion. It was just too much for me, and I started considering maybe adoption or keeping the baby. So instead of using the money to go towards an abortion, I used it to buy Kate a couple things for if we did decide to keep her or for her new family.
All right. Do you remember what you bought her?
I don't. I know maybe some diapers and a bouncer or something like that, or
After you took that money, did you ever have any discussions with the defendant about the issue of abortion? Well, let me ask another question. How did the defendant react when you didn't use that money? Did you tell him what you did with the money?
I did.
All right. And how did he react when you told him that?
He wasn't very happy.
Can you tell the members of the jury, during the course of your pregnancy, did you ever discuss adoption?
We did.
All right. Who brought up the subject of adoption?
I'm not sure, honestly. It could have been him, but I don't want to say 100%.
And was your memory, I know it's been a period of time, but was your memory better back closer to the time?
Yes.
All right. gonna move on. How many times during the course of your pregnancy would you say you discussed the issue of adoption?
I'm not sure an exact time, or I'm not sure an exact number, but it was quite a bit.
Okay. And was this after you had discussed the issue and argued, according to your testimony, about the issue of abortion numerous times?
Yes.
Okay. When you started to talk about adoption, was the time frame for a safe abortion passed?
It was.
All right. And can you tell the members of the jury these discussions about adoption, would you argue?
We would.
Frequently?
Yes.
And what was the argument?
The same as before, just about us not being able to afford it and all those reasons that I had previously stated.
All right. So you said us not being able to afford it. Whose side of the argument was that?
It was his side, but I understood why he was coming from that at least that specific argument.
All right. And were any actions taken in regards to the issue of adoption?
Yes.
Can you tell the members of the jury what those were?
We went to Grand Rapids to talk to see if an agency down there would be better. We didn't want, if we were going to go through with adoption, we didn't want to have it around here in the sense that it would risk getting back to his parents, and neither one of us wanted to go through the pain of running into our child somewhere at the store, or it would just be too hard for us, so we were going to go through Grand Rapids.
Did the defendant come to you with any research he had done?
I don't remember. I think so. I think I remember something, but I can't be 100% sure.
All right. Well, you mentioned a trip to Grand Rapids. Tell the members of the jury about that. Whose idea was that?
It was mine.
And what happened? Did you go on a trip to Grand Rapids?
We did.
How many times?
I believe it was twice.
Tell the members of the jury what happened in Grand Rapids.
I backed out both times.
What do you mean when you say you backed out?
We went in there and I got paperwork that there was at one of the desks. I'm not too familiar with the Grand Rapids area. I believe it was the DHS there. But there were some papers when you walked in towards the front of the desk that I grabbed, and we were going to fill them out. We had said, the paperwork had said that it was pretty much the beginning process of wanting to do what we were thinking about doing.
And did you, in fact, speak to anybody when you were in Grand Rapids?
I didn't.
Where was the defendant when, well, let me ask you this. When you say we went to Grand Rapids, what do you mean by that? Where did you go in Grand Rapids?
The DHS in Grand Rapids, I'm not sure which one it was.
Okay, and what did you do when you got to DHS?
That's when we went inside and got the paperwork.
Who went inside and got the paperwork?
We all did.
All right,
Me, Sean, Haley, and Kate.
all right. What happened next?
We left and went home.
Okay, did you ever follow up on that information?
I had the paperwork and I filled some of it out, but then I never finished it or turned it in or anything.
What about computer research?
Yes, we did.
When you say we, who's we?
I did it a couple of times on my own, and then when Sean would come over, we would sometimes research stuff together. We actually were looking at different homes for our child, if that's what we decided to do. So we were looking at different agencies and reading them, seeing about them, if it was the right fit, and we both were kind of collaborating ideas about which family we wanted and which one we didn't want.
Did you ever exchange text messages with the defendant implying that you had made arrangements for an adoption?
Yes.
All right. Was that true?
No.
All right. And what was the purpose for making those representations?
I didn't want to argue with him anymore about it.
So is it fair to characterize that you're trying to keep him happy?
Yes.
All right. With these arguments about adoption, did they continue right up till the time of the birth of your second child?
Yes.
All right. When was your second child born?
She was born on February 12th of 2011.
What was her name?
Catherine Shelby Elizabeth Phillips.
I'm sorry, you have to keep your voice up.
Catherine Shelby Elizabeth Phillips.
Counsel? May I approach the reporter, Your Honor?
Ma'am.
I'm handing you what's been marked People's Proposed Number 1 for identification. Do you recognize who that is?
Yes.
And who is that?
Kate.
All right. Catherine Phillips?
Yes.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction of how she looked back in?
Yes, that was taken about a week or two before the incident happened.
All right. So roughly June of 2011?
Yes.
People moved to admit People's Proposed Exhibit Number 1, Your Honor.
No objection. Exhibit 1's admitted.
Your Honor, may I just show it to the jury? There's no need to pass it. Now, Ms. Courtland, can you tell the members of the jury, when you had Catherine, was the defendant present at the hospital?
No.
All right. Where was he?
He was gone for some training in the military, and he was in by Houghton Lake up that way at Camp Grayling.
I'm sorry, I forgot to ask. to George. Ms. Courtland, I'm handing to you People's Proposed Exhibit Number 2 for identification. Do you recognize what that is?
Yes.
And what is that?
Catherine's birth certificate.
All right. And is that an accurate representation? I believe it's a certified copy of Catherine's birth certificate?
Yes.
All right. People move to admit People's Proposed Exhibit Number 2.
No objection. Exhibit 2's admitted.
I approach the witness, Your Honor. When you had Catherine, did you give her a full name on the birth certificate?
I did.
And what was the name?
Catherine Shelby Elizabeth Phillips.
Once again, you have to keep your voice up as much as you can, okay? I know it's hard.
Catherine Shelby Elizabeth Phillips.
Well, Shelby Elizabeth, she had 2 middle names?
She did.
All right. So you gave her the last name Phillips, is that correct?
I did.
All right. But in the area of the birth certificate that's designated for father to be listed, was anyone listed in that area?
I listed them, but they couldn't put it on her birth certificate because he had to be present to sign.
So was the defendant's name on the birth certificate?
No.
What was your relationship with the defendant after Catherine was born?
It was better, I thought.
I'm sorry?
I thought that it was better.
You thought that it was better?
Yes.
All right. Were you still in the boyfriend-girlfriend relationship?
I'm not sure what we were, honestly.
Well, let me ask you this. How often would you see him?
We would see each other almost every day.
Were you seeing anybody else in a boyfriend capacity?
Not the whole time.
Where were you living when Catherine was born?
I was living on my own, in my own apartment,
And where is that apartment at?
across town.
When you say across town, that can tell members of the jury don't know what you mean by that.
Oh, I didn't know I was supposed to, like my actual address.
You don't have to give me the numbers, but was there an apartment complex you were living in?
Yeah.
And where was that?
Birch Lake Apartments.
All right. Between February and June of 2011, what was your custody relationship with the defendant in regards to Haley?
We had still had joint custody.
All right. And were you still trying to follow the, for lack of a better term, the arrangement of convenience you two had worked out?
Yes, we didn't have any issues that I recall with that after Kate was born.
Did you have any custody arrangement in regards to Kate?
We did not.
Did the defendant have any legal custody of Kate?
No.
Did the defendant have any court-ordered visitation or parenting time with Kate?
He did not.
From February of 2011 until June of 2011, did the defendant's parents ever meet Catherine or Kate?
They did not.
Why not?
Because I told them that Kate was his, but they didn't believe me because Sean was telling them that she wasn't his.
Did you ever attempt to make arrangements for the defendant's parents to meet Catherine?
Yes.
What'd you do?
I would, at one point in time during my pregnancy, I had left my ultrasound picture on their door, and then I don't know if I texted or called Kim and left a voicemail in regards to her. I've said multiple times, I even told his sister that Kate was Sean's and how upset I was that stuff was kind of going down the way it was at the time.
Did you ever personally discuss Kate with his parents?
I don't remember if I did or not now.
Well, what was your relationship with the defendant's parents at that time frame?
It wasn't very good.
What do you mean it wasn't very good?
We didn't really talk a whole lot, and when we did, you could tell that they didn't like me, so they didn't like me because they didn't know me. They've never actually gotten to know me at the time. It was all about what they thought that I was doing or what they thought from what Sean would tell them. And
Well, would you interact with Kim Phillips at all when you had an exchange of Haley?
not really, sometimes, but mainly I tried to just go through Sean because I just didn't want to deal with them.
Were you welcome in their house?
No.
And were you welcome in their house earlier in the relationship?
Yes, but only because Sean begged and pleaded with them and told them that they pretty much had to accept that we were together. And then that's when I was, I don't know if you want to technically consider I was allowed in their house, but they let me come over a few times, and I came over for Christmas after Haley was born. Little events like that.
After Catherine was born, did the defendant treat Catherine like he treated Haley?
In some aspects, yes.
Well, what aspects are you talking about?
The only way he didn't treat her the same was he didn't admit to anybody that he had another child, but he, didn't take care of her any differently. He would watch her and...
Well, did he take her to his parents' house?
No, that's what I mean, like he didn't, I guess I would think that would go hand in hand with him not showing anybody Kate or telling anybody that he had another child.
All right. Did he seek any custody arrangement of Kate whatsoever?
He did not.
In between the months of February and June of 2011, after Kate was born, did you continue to discuss adoption?
We did.
All right. Now, after you went to Grand Rapids, did you and defendant get into an argument about adoption?
We did.
All right. Tell the members of the jury about that.
When we went the first time or the second time?
Well, let's start with the first time.
I can't remember the argument word for word. I just know that we bickered about it because I hadn't wanted to and he still did, so.
Did you previously testify the defendant did not go inside with you?
The first one he didn't, but the
All right.
second time he did.
All right.
He had to use the bathroom, and I think Haley had to use the bathroom. So he had the girls with him when I went up to the other floor and got the paperwork that I needed.
And at some point, the defendant actually print off some paperwork for adoption off his computer and bring it to you?
Maybe. I'm not 100% sure.
Did the defendant, in regards to this ongoing subject of adoption, did he ever use Haley basically as a threat?
Sometimes, yes.
Tell the members of the jury about that.
When I would tell him in more serious sense that I wanted to keep Kate and why I wanted to keep Kate because she was ours and we would find a way to make it work, he would get mad. I think his biggest concern was that not wanting to disappoint his parents or tell his parents, and it kind of all stemmed from that, I guess.
My question was about Haley. In regards to these ongoing arguments about adoption, how would Haley enter into that?
Oh, he would get mad and tell me that, fine, then you can find your own ride to come get Haley, or he just wouldn't call, or he just wouldn't answer his phone when I would call to be able to come get him or try to hurt or make arrangements with him. He just wouldn't answer his phone.
Did he tell you he wouldn't let you see Haley anymore?
It would be something along the lines of that.
All right. And did you yourself ever search adoption?
I did.
Okay. Why'd you do that?
Because at first I was considering it. I understood in a sense some of where he was coming from, but as a mom I just didn't think that I could do it, but I thought maybe I would change my mind, like if we found a right suit for her, and that just never came. I still just had that connection and that bond with her that it just didn't change. I just couldn't do it. And the longer that Kate grew up and we watched her, I breastfed, that has a lot to do with bonding. So we were just really close.
Would you lie to the defendant about what your intentions were so he'd bring Haley back to you?
I would.
Did you still have feelings for the defendant during this period of time?
I do.
Were you in love with him?
Yes.
Had you ever been with any other boyfriend but the defendant?
No boyfriends, no, nothing like that.
And how do you feel about the defendant today?
I don't know.
Confused?
I'm happy now.
When you say you're happy now, can you tell the members of the jury what you mean by that?
I'm in a healthier relationship with somebody who never forgets to tell me that I'm beautiful and that I'm a good mom, and is sitting in the courtroom so I don't have to be alone. And even when I'm wrong, No, I
just
know,
asked.
I didn't think that I had to, so I didn't,
Did you have a discussion with him about the announcements?
no, I don't think so.
What about after you had them made?
We talked about him after he found out that I had them.
How did he react?
I don't remember what he said, but I remember that he had one with him, and that's kind of all I remember in that aspect of it.
Did he do something else with the birth announcements?
Yes,
Tell the members of the jury what?
they were thrown away.
How did that all come about? Tell them the situation that resulted in them being thrown away.
I think they came up, I couldn't find them, and I asked him about them, and he said that he threw them away.
Did the announcements go missing more than once?
Yes, they did.
Tell the jury about that.
I couldn't find him the first time. I don't know which one was first. I don't remember.
It doesn't matter.
But
What are the two instances you remember?
one of them was when I couldn't find them, and then we were over at my mom's house, who didn't live very far from us, and we drove down there to get Haley, or to get Kate or something like that, and I had to open his trunk to put something in there, and I found the stack of birth announcements sitting in his trunk.
What'd you do with them?
I took them back and I put them in the diaper bag, and then I said something to him about them.
Is there another occasion that you two discussed the birth announcements?
I don't remember.
Do you remember the defendant coming over to your house, or your apartment, I'm sorry, your apartment one day and arguing about them and about 3 o'clock in the morning?
I don't remember that.
Besides the birth announcements going missing, can you tell the members of the jury, did you ever notice anything else relevant to Kate that came up missing?
I don't think so.
Do you remember your annual DHS report?
I think so, maybe a little bit.
All right. Do you remember your DHS report coming up? Well, DHS, can you explain to members of the jury who aren't familiar what your DHS report was?
I honestly don't even remember at this time what it was.
Do you remember paperwork coming up missing in addition to the birth announcements?
I do, I just don't remember what it was for DHS. I don't know if it was for Medicaid or what it was for.
All right. And was this paperwork pertaining to Kate?
Yes, it was.
All right. And when you say DHS, just can you tell the members of the jury what DHS is?
Department of Human Services?
All right. So, Department of Human Services, is that a department that assisted you with financial and other assistance for your children?
Yes.
All right. Did you have a discussion as to why the defendant had taken the paperwork?
Yes.
All right. Tell the members of the jury what the defendant said.
I don't remember what he said.
Did you in fact tell the police that the defendant took the paperwork? Oh, I'll show.
I would object as leading, which I believe.
I can impeach my own witness.
Sustain that, so if you have something to refresh your recollection, you may proceed.
Yes, Your Honor. counsel, I'm referring to Mason County Sheriff's Report number 38, page 54, about 3/4 of the way down the page. May I approach the witness? I'm going to ask you to read from about the stars down to the bottom of that page, and I have a few questions for you.
Okay.
Does that refresh your memory about what you told the police?
Yeah.
All right. And that would have been back some 5 years ago, around the beginning of this investigation?
Yes.
And could you tell the members of the jury, was your memory, I know it's been a long time, but was your memory better then than it is perhaps today?
Yes.
All right. And does that refresh your memory in regards to what you told the police about the birth certificates? Let's start with that.
Yes.
All right. And in regards, I know I'm backing up a little bit, but now that you refreshed your memory, in regards to the missing birth certificates, what happened back then in regards to the defendant that you've been refreshed, your memory's been refreshed on?
I, at some point from that, woke up in the middle of the night, and I do remember him outside on the deck smoking, and then I don't remember how I discovered that my paperwork was missing, but it was missing, and I asked him about it, and he told me that he was mad about the birth announcements, and he didn't really elaborate on why he took the paperwork, or he didn't even actually admit that he took the paperwork.
Did you previously tell the police, Sean told you he took the paperwork because you weren't giving Kate up for adoption?
Objection, Your Honor, she's leading her witness.
I gave her an opportunity to refresh her memory. It's impeachment at this point.
Right, but she then testifies from her refreshed memory and not from the document counsel.
Right.
I'll sustain that. Ask her what she remembers.
What do you remember in terms of what Sean told you about why he took the paperwork?
Again, Your Honor, I'd object, that's been asked and answered.
Well, Judge, I can impeach
I'm
my...
not sure that it was clearly answered. You may proceed.
I can go off of what I said before, because I'm sure that was right, but it's been so long, I don't remember that night
Okay.
a whole lot.
And does that refresh your memory as to what was said?
Kind of. I still don't really remember the incident, but
Isn't it in fact true that you previously told the police that he said he took the paperwork because you wouldn't give Kate up for adoption?
yes.
Object, Your Honor, she's leading.
I can impeach my witness, counsel.
You do not argue
I'm
with
sorry, Judge.
counsel.
I'm sorry.
And I'm going to overrule that, but you can cross-examine on it.
Ms. Courtland, besides that, did he indicate to you anything pertaining to Haley because you weren't going to give Kate up?
From my previous statement, it said that he was going to file for sole custody of Haley.
I'm sorry, keep your voice up, please.
Going off of from that paper and reading my testimony previously, it says that that Sean had said that he was going to take sole custody, or try to get sole custody of Haley if I didn't, or because of that whole situation, he was going to go after me for custody.
All right. And at that time, were you taking any prescription medication?
I don't remember.
Okay. Did the defendant ever make any statements to you about your prescription medication in custody of Haley?
Yes.
Okay, tell the members of the jury about that.
I remember I was on an antidepressant, and he said that he was gonna use that against me. I'm not sure why, but, and then I think I had Norco left over from giving birth to Kate, but they were all prescribed, and I think that was another thing he was gonna use, but I'm not 100% sure. But I do recall him using medicines in my cabinet that had no relevance to try to use against me, I guess.
All right. And did he make any statements to you about you keeping Kate and what that was doing to him?
Yes,
What did he say?
that it was gonna mess up his life if I kept Kate.
Did the defendant have a key to your apartment?
He did.
All right. And during the time when you were arguing about the birth announcements, did something come up in regards to the key to the apartment?
Yes.
Tell the members of the jury about that.
I told him that I wanted my key back for my apartment.
And was that during the argument about the paperwork and the birth announcement?
It was.
All right. Did you, in regards to those announcements, did you ever send an announcement out to the defendant's parents?
I don't remember if I did or not.
I'm just going to, in general, talk, and I'll get a little more specific, but were there a series of texts where you let the defendant believe that you might be on board with the idea of an adoption?
Yes.
Tell the members of the jury why you did that.
I thought that I would change my mind towards if it came down to it and if we could find the right home. And then I just realized that it wasn't, that detachment wasn't coming, and I didn't want to just give her up. Like, I just couldn't get myself in that same mindset as what Sean had.
Was there ever, did you ever tell the defendant there was somebody ready to adopt her?
Yes.
Was there ever anybody ready to adopt her?
No.
How did the defendant act when you acted like you were going along with the adoption plan?
Better. We weren't arguing all the time.
Was he nicer to you?
Yeah.
Now, can you tell the members of the jury, after Catherine was born, did she have any kind of medical coverage?
She had insurance through me, but after birth, they're only allowed to be on your insurance for so long before they have to be on their own insurance.
All right. And after Catherine was born, was any paternity paperwork filed?
Yes.
Tell the members of the jury how that all happened.
I went to DHS to fill out the paperwork so that Kate could be on her own insurance, and filled out everything, and then I sent it in. And then in order to get any sort of assistance through DHS, even my insurance, they make you establish who the father is, and I put down that Sean was her father. And then that, of course, got the ball rolling for child support, because it's a governmental thing. It's a government thing that if you establish who the dad is, they need to be paying some sort of child support to reimburse for assistance that I was getting for insurance.
All right, so the first step in the process is you filed the paperwork that was in regards to her medical coverage with DHS, is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And then subsequent to that, were you called in to fill out some additional paperwork?
Yes.
And where were you called into?
To the prosecuting attorney's office.
All right. And that is here, Mason County Prosecuting Attorney's Office?
Yes.
All right. And who did you interact with, if anybody, at the Mason County Prosecutor's Office?
My appointment was with Doreen, which I believe is his assistant.
When you say his assistant, who are you
Paul
referring to?
Spaniel.
Now you're referring to the elected prosecutor, Mr. Spaniola?
Yes.
All right. And what did you do? Was there a call for you to come in, or how did that all happen?
Yes, there was a phone call that came in, and then I went there and met with her a couple different times regarding the paperwork and filling stuff out.
And that was here in this building?
Yes,
All right. Did you tell the defendant that you were coming here to this building to file the paternity paperwork?
I did not.
All right. Did you tell, I'm sorry, did you ever hear from the defendant after the paperwork was filed?
Yes.
When did you hear from him?
I am not sure how long it was from when it was filed to when he was served, but after he was served, I heard from him when he found out about the papers.
Tell the members of the jury about that.
He called me and asked why I was going after him for child support, and I explained to him that I wasn't going after him for child support, that the state does it when you get any sort of assistance through them, because she was the dad, or because he was the dad, and he didn't believe me, so he got mad at me and we got into an argument, and I'm not sure exactly what was all said, but I know that he was mad about it because he didn't believe what I was saying. He thought that I was just deliberately going after him for child support.
On the day that he was served with the paperwork, can you tell the members of the jury, was there an incident pertaining to Haley?
Yes.
Tell the members of the jury about that.
Haley was supposed to be brought to me the next day for my 3 days, and he refused to bring her to me. He refused to even let me come get her. He just didn't answer his phone at all, even though he knew that it was my day.
All right. And did you take any action when he wasn't keeping up with the custody arrangement that you had agreed to?
Yes.
Tell the members of the jury about that.
I called the police and let them know what was going on, and so that it could be documented, and they pretty much told me the same thing that they've told me before, that I would have to take him back to court and go through all that stuff again and let them know that he was violating the order.
After the defendant was served with the paternity paperwork for Haley, can you tell the members of the jury, did you yourself get a notice to report for some kind of DNA testing?
Yes.
And how did you get that notice?
I think it was in the mail that I got it.
Did you get a specific date?
Yes.
All right. And what date was that?
For June 29th, I think it was at 12, maybe, p.m. that we were supposed to be there.
All right. Do you remember specifically the time?
It was either like 11 or, I know it was either 11 or 12.
Okay. Did you know if the defendant, let me ask you this, did you know if the defendant had gotten a notice?
Yes. He told me that he did.
Was his test scheduled before or after yours?
His was an hour after mine.
After or before?
After.
Okay, are you sure of that?
No, I'm
Okay.
not. I'm not 100% how well that.
All right. So let me ask you this, were the appointments scheduled apart from each other?
Yes, they were apart.
All right. Now, after the defendant, was there a period of time, let me ask you this, where the defendant stopped talking about adoption?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this, after he was served with the paternity paperwork, did the discussions about adoption become more frequent?
I don't remember. I think we still just talked about it in general.
Let me just have a moment. Mason County Sheriff's Report, number 38, supplement, page 53. May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may. What page number?
53.
Report. I'll supplement 38 on pages.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's the running number.
I was never provided copies of the running.
It's the same thing you have.
But 15, can I just see what page you're referring to first?
Yep. It would be your page. Yeah. Yeah, got it. And I'll go back to this after lunch. There's a lot of reading. I gotta find the specific passage. Let me direct your attention to, all right, we're gonna start with the 29th of June, okay?
Okay.
I wanna back you up to when was the most recent time you saw the defendant before the 29th of June? That being a Wednesday.
It would have been Monday or Tuesday?
All right,
Monday, because I didn't see him Tuesday.
did he stay at your house, do you remember?
Yeah, I think he stayed Saturday night and Sunday night, I think.
And was there any argument about adoption on that date?
I'm not 100% sure.
All right. In terms of your personal paternity test, did you and the defendant have any discussion about that?
Yes.
All right. And I'm talking the last time you saw him before the 29th of June.
I think we talked about it, yeah, briefly.
Did you know when his appointment was?
No, I don't think I knew until the day of, I think is when I knew.
All right. Well, did you take some action to attempt to find out exactly what time the defendant's appointment was?
Yes, I called them and I asked.
When you say you called them, members of the jury don't know who you're referring to.
I'm not sure what the place was called. I called a number that was on the paperwork for the testing. I don't know if it was the lab or what number it was, but I asked the lab, I guess I'm gonna go with, when it was.
And were they able to disclose that information to you?
No, they said that it was like a confidentiality thing.
All right. And besides calling the lab, were there any calls made to the defendant, or attempts to make calls, I should say, to the defendant on the morning of the 29th of June?
Yes.
All right. Do you remember how many times roughly?
No.
All right. And what was your point on trying to reach the defendant on that morning?
I was seeing if he wanted to come over and see her for a little while, or if he was going to be in town, if he wanted to just take us up to the hospital too.
Did you send him any text messages that morning that referred to an adoption?
Probably. I'd have to see.
All right. Do you remember leaving a message that said you wanted to know if you could take Kate today?
Yes.
All right. Do you remember telling him you had to be there at 1 p.m.?
Yes.
All right. Does that refresh your memory as to the time that your test was?
Yes.
All right. And what time was it?
Must have been one.
All right. And did you ever make a representation to the defendant, if it doesn't happen by 1, it's not going to happen?
Probably.
All right. Why were you doing that?
because just to try to, like I've said before, just to try to make him happy, I guess.
All right. You said to the, you testified that you were hoping he would take you to the DNA test. Had that been worked out already in advance?
No,
Did you have a vehicle at that point, Ms. Courtland?
I did not.
Did you have a license?
I did not.
All right. And you indicated previously you were living at the Birch Lake Apartments?
Yes.
And how far was that from the hospital, just roughly?
Like a half a mile.
All right. I want to direct your attention to, well, did the defendant on the date of the 29th, that morning, did he ever respond to you in any way, to any text messages?
I don't think so.
All right. Would it be uncommon for the defendant not to respond to your text or messages?
No.
All right. So is there something unusual about that day?
Not really.
Well, did he respond to any text messages you sent him?
I don't remember. It was 5 years ago. I don't remember. I could have.
Did the defendant come to your apartment on that date?
Yes.
All right. Do you remember what time?
It must have been like between 12 and 12:30.
All right. Had he already taken his test at that time?
Yes.
All right.
That's when I found out when his was.
Tell the members of the jury, what was the defendant wearing when he came to your apartment?
I think he was wearing a black t-shirt, and then he had on khaki shorts and a pair of shoes.
What kind of shoes?
I think he had his brown and red and white Vans.
Are you sure of that?
He had 2 pairs of shoes. And I,
2 pairs of shoes that you know of?
yes,
Did he wear the Vans often?
not really.
All right.
He must have had on the black ones because he wore those the most.
Do you know the brand of the black ones?
Yeah, I would know it. I'd know it if I saw it, yeah.
All right. Now, when the defendant came to your apartment on that day, tell the members of the jury, did he still have a key to your apartment at that time, or had you taken it back?
I had taken it back previous to that.
What was the defendant's demeanor when he came to your apartment?
I think it was to try to convince me not to go.
Objection, Your Honor, I believe that's just speculation.
What do you remember?
I just remember arguing about going, honestly. I don't remember exactly what his demeanor was for coming. All I remember is that we argued about us going, and it was keeping me from going because we were arguing.
Did that argument continue the whole time you were in the apartment?
Yes.
Did you tell him that you were going to go have the test?
Yes.
How did he react to that?
He didn't want me to go.
Was the issue of adoption discussed at that point?
I think so, but I can't be 100% sure.
And did the argument remain the same, or did it become more heated?
It became more heated as I persisted that we had to go to the appointment.
Where was this argument taking place at?
At my apartment,
Where in your apartment?
by the door.
All right. And during the time frame of this argument, were you doing anything else besides arguing with the defendant?
Yes, I was getting Kate's diaper bag ready to go,
You
and
have to keep your voice up, Ms. Courtland.
I was getting Kate ready, her diaper bag ready, and getting her ready in general. And I think I had just finished feeding her, so I had to. I don't remember if I pumped at the time, but just getting everything ready for her.
Okay. Could you tell the members of the jury, what was Kate wearing on that day?
She was wearing like a little two-piece outfit. It had pink and black and white. I think it had pink and black like flower thing.
Yes. Just went ahead and write this something. Great. Can I approach the court reporter over? Counsel, can you see them? I'm showing you people's proposed exhibit number 4 for identification. I'm sorry. You recognize what this is?
Yes,
He tells the members of the jury what it is?
the clothes that she was wearing that day.
All right. And does there appear anything different about the clothes that she was wearing that day?
No.
People move to the people's proposed exhibit number 4.
No objection.
Exhibit 4 didn't meet.
Here's some tissue.
No.
And that's the outfit you dressed her in that day?
Yes.
All right. Did you leave the apartment in time for your appointment, if you recall?
No, we were late.
You were late? All right. Well, did this argument that you've told the jury about, did this continue the whole time you were in the apartment?
Yes.
Did it continue as you left the apartment?
Yes.
And where did you go when you left the apartment?
We went to DHS.
Well, let me back up for a minute. Did you get into the defendant's vehicle when you left the apartment?
Yes.
Okay, I want to go through that. Did you leave the apartment with the defendant?
Yes.
All right. And when you left did you have the car seat for Catherine and Kate?
Yes.
All right. And can you tell members of the jury, where was that car seat put?
Sean had buckled it in behind her, or behind him.
You have to keep your voice up, okay?
Sean had buckled it in behind him.
All right. When you say buckled it in behind him, did you have like a base for the car seat?
We did, but the car seat that she had didn't need a base. It had a built-in base into it, so there was a base for extra protection, or if you wanted to put it in a different vehicle, but
All right.
it didn't need one.
And in regards to the defendant's vehicle, was there a car seat in the defendant's vehicle?
There was.
All right, and tell the members of the jury what that was about.
Haley had a car seat.
All right, where was that car seat? Did that car seat remain in the same spot all the time?
Yeah, it was always in the middle
In the middle where?
of the back seat.
All right. And was that, for lack of a better term, a permanent fixture?
It was, yeah.
Okay. So now you have a second car seat there. Was Haley's car seat in his car on that day?
No, it wasn't.
Are you sure?
The black, yes, it was. It was in the middle of it.
All right. Now, you said that there was another procedure for Kate's car seat.
Yes.
All right, so where was that put?
Hers was put right behind Sean.
All right. And describe for the members of the jury when you say it was put right behind Sean, how it was put right behind Sean.
Like rear facing.
I'm sorry, keep your voice up.
I guess I don't understand what you're asking.
All right, well, you said it was rear facing,
Yes.
and you said it was strapped in. Explain to the members of the jury what you mean when you say it was strapped in.
It was strapped in through the middle or the end of the car seat, I guess.
Okay, strapped into where?
You put the strap through the car seat like you would a normal car seat, and then it, Sean would make it tighter, and then just like a regular car seat.
Okay. So the car seat, as I understand it, would face rear, is that correct?
Yes.
And it was strapped in behind the defendant's driver's seat.
Yes.
When you say strapped in, what was it strapped to?
The car.
All right, the actual car?
Yes. Like buckled in.
All right. When you say buckled in, what do you mean buckled in?
I don't know what you mean, I guess.
Well, I guess what I'm asking you is, what was strapping the car seat in? You said, did the car seat have straps? More than one set of straps?
No.
Okay.
I,
Oh, may I approach you? I'm sorry. Doesn't matter. That's good. David, can you- I'm showing you, Miss Courtland, you're gonna hold this, I'm sorry, okay. What's been marked as People's Proposed Exhibit number 5, do you recognize that?
yes.
What do you recognize that to be?
Kate's car seat.
Okay. And does that appear to be in the same condition as when you saw it on June 29th, 2011?
Other than the stains and the fading, yes.
Okay. People move to admit People's Proposed Exhibit number 5.
No objection, Your Honor.
Exhibit 5 is admitted.
All right. Can you, and I'll get it out of your lap in just a moment, Ms. Cortland, but can you show the members of the jury, when you say it was strapped in, show the area of the car seat that was strapped in?
It was buckled in like this, behind Sean, rear facing. And then we'd put the car seat straps through here. And then this one has it on the side too, and then it would buckle down.
All right, so the actual seat belt of the car would buckle it in?
Yeah.
All right. And then are there straps? Can you just turn it towards the jury so they can see it? Do you need help with that? And are there straps on the inside of that as well?
Yeah. Yes.
So are those the straps you're referring to?
These ones are the ones that was holding her in, but
Okay, so those are separate straps?
yes.
All right. So straps to secure it to the car, correct?
Yes.
And then other straps to hold the baby actually inside the seat, correct?
Yes.
All right. All right, so you leave the apartment with the defendant, correct?
Yes.
And was Kate with you?
Yes.
All right. Was she buckled into that seat and strapped in?
Yes.
All right. Where did you go?
We went to the Ludington DHS.
Okay. And did you know you were going to DHS?
He never said anything, we just drove there.
All right. Were you arguing in the car on the way to DHS?
Yes.
All right. And was there anything different about this argument than other arguments?
He was being more persistent, but I figured that it was because he didn't want me to take the test.
All right. We say more persistent. Was it more escalated than normal?
Yes.
All right. And did he park at the DHS parking lot? If you
Yes.
remember.
I think so, yes.
All right. How long would you say you were at the DHS parking lot, if you know?
I don't, not very long.
All right. Did the argument continue in the DHS parking lot?
Yes.
All right. And at some point, did you get out of defendant's vehicle?
I did.
Tell the members of the jury about that.
I got around back because Kate was crying, and I told him that I would just walk to the test because it wasn't very far. It was right next to the hospital.
All right.
And I was getting her out to console her and then just walk with her.
All right. And did you walk to the hospital with her?
No, I didn't.
Okay, why not?
I ended up getting back in the vehicle because I thought he had agreed to go to the hospital.
Okay. She got back in the vehicle.
I buckled Kate back in, and then she seemed...
Council, we're gonna take the lunch break now. The lunch break will be for an hour and 15 minutes, jurors. You're reminded you're not to discuss this case with anyone or let anyone discuss it with you or in your presence. If anyone tries to do that, you tell them to stop. Explain as a juror, you're not allowed to discuss the case. If they continue, leave and report the incident to me. Do not talk to the defendants, the lawyers, or witnesses about anything, even if it has nothing to do with the case. And do not read, listen to, or watch any news reports about the case that may be out there and available. Just ignore them if you happen to see anything about this case. And with that, we stand in recess. Back to that room. You can take them or leave them.
Yeah, thanks.
Jury is left, we will go off the record and see you back at 1:15.
Judge, do you have any objection to us putting exhibits there?